Welcome back to the Johnny Lawrence podcast. I'm really glad you're here today because today we're going to be diving into something that, quite honestly, every single one of us needs to hear about. The topic of self-leadership. I want to kick things off with a question. If you're not leading yourself, then who is? Because the truth is, every day, whether you realise it or not, you're either taking charge of your life, your decisions and your future, or you're handing the wheel over to somebody else. How does that feel to think of it that way? And here's the kicker, as if there is one that is needed, but you know me, like kicking stuff. Most people don't even notice when they hand it over. So today, we're going to unpack what self-leadership actually means, what happens when you don't practice it, how things change when you do, and most importantly, how you can start leading yourself today. It's an important topic. One of the reasons why I've really fell in love with this topic and this concept is because although I've always been who I've been, wanted to be a helper and been able to listen and help people solve the complexities of their life, I've always looked at it as there's this moment in our development when we're trying to change, when we start to self-sabotage ourselves. And I've always known that self-development has kind of been the antidote to that chaos, that self-sabotage, that self-soothing, if you want to call it that. But even then, when you think about it, what are you actually doing? You can't tell yourself you're not going to sabotage yourself because we need to know what we're going to do. So what are we going to do? We're going to lead ourselves. So what is self-leadership? Let's start at the beginning. What do I mean when I say self-leadership? What does it mean? What does the actual word mean? It sounds very grand to some people. Self-leadership is your ability to guide yourself, your mindset, your behaviours, your decisions in the way that aligns with the values that you have and the ambitions that you have. That's it. It's about your ability to lead yourself, self-leadership. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. That's the trap that we fall into, that we have to be the perfect leader towards ourselves. No, perfection is impossible. If we are aiming for perfection, actually what we are doing is we're trying to avoid failure. It doesn't mean controlling every single thing that happens in your life. That too isn't possible. Things happen in our life and we have no control over it. It wasn't our fault and there's probably nothing we could have done to change it. So the next protocol is to understand how we're going to deal with it. What it does mean, though, is taking ownership of the direction that you are heading. Think of it this way. Self-leadership is choosing effort over excuses. It's setting your own standards instead of letting other people dictate them to you. It's choosing to live in alignment with your truth instead of wearing a mask to fit in. Without it, you're just drifting. With it, you're building the life that you actually want. The life that you want, the one that, and don't get me wrong, I have the best life in the world, but there are some days that I've got things I've got to do that I just think, don't want to do that. It's just life. But by and by, most of the time, you're happy with where you live. You're happy with the person that you share your life with, your partner. You're happy with your kids and the way that they're progressing. You're happy with your friendship circle. You're happy with your purpose in the sense of you get up in the morning, what you do for a living. You're fairly happy with that. That's what this is going to do. We tolerate so much in our life and we tell ourselves it's okay because perhaps some of our friends or our family or we watch their parents do the same, but we're not happy and we spend our time gaslighting ourselves, telling ourselves that it's all right, and we use other people as examples to make ourselves feel better when actually deep inside there's this knowing. We know that we're not happy. Now let's flip it. What happens when you don't self-lead? You drift. You react to life instead of creating it. And to be honest with you, I've been there. I may well be there again. Depends what life throws at me. I know what it's like to wake up in the morning with no plan, no direction, and no sense of control. To feel like life is just something that's happening to me. Here are some common patterns I noticed. You say yes to things that you don't actually want. You avoid difficult conversations and then wonder why your relationships feel shallow or even break down. You chase distractions, validation, or quick wins instead of focusing on what actually matters to you. You look around one day and realize you're living a life you never consciously chose. And the most dangerous part, you start believing that this is just how life is, that you're stuck, that you do not have a choice. But here's the thing. You do have a choice. I promise you that. One of the things that I hear my clients say a lot, especially in the beginning, is, Johnny, I can't believe it's that simple. And then we get down the line, a few months down the line, and they look at me and they go, do you know, I can't believe it was that simple. Because I understand how it feels in that moment, to feel stuck, to feel overwhelmed, to not feel like you can make those decisions. But you can. You can choose to empower yourself. You can choose to take charge. Is it easy? No. Are there difficult moments? Are there moments that feel impossible? Yes. But that doesn't mean you can't do it though. So what happens when you do self-lead? Now let's imagine the opposite. Let's say you decided to take ownership of your life, to actually lead yourself. What changes then? Well, here's the beautiful thing. Pretty much everything changes. All of it. You set goals that are based on your values, not what society tells you that you want. You stop letting your emotions run the show. Doesn't mean you don't have emotions. It means you stop letting them run the show and stop letting your emotions be demands. You see, emotions are the way that our soul makes requests. They're requests, not demands. It's telling you something is important and you must listen, or you would benefit from listening. You stop letting your emotions run the show. Instead of being sabotaged by them, you start using them as data. Your emotions are information. They are telling you something. They may not have the full picture, but they are giving you information. And at some point, when you have enough information, when you have all the information that is to collect, then you can make decisions. You build momentum, and momentum compounds. A small step each day becomes a huge shift over time. You develop a deep sense of confidence. No fake bravado, not putting on a show, but real confidence, real belief in yourself. You have this reputation with yourself that you're proud of, that you agree with, that you built. The kind that comes from knowing you are steering your own ship. And here is yet another kicker. Told you I like kicking stuff. When you lead yourself, other people notice. They respect it. They trust it. You become a natural leader in your relationships, your workplace, your community. Not because you demanded it, but because you modeled it. Self-leadership doesn't just improve your life, it transforms it in every single area that it touches. So, what a wonderful podcast, Johnny. Very inspirational. Thank you for all of that. It all makes sense. So, how do I do it? How do I start leading myself? Here are 3 simple but powerful steps that you can take today. Now, I'm not saying you do these things and everything changes overnight. I'm saying they're steps. Steps move towards something. They are not the thing. Okay, so here are 3 simple but powerful steps you can take today. The first one is this. It's going to hurt. Are you ready? Take responsibility. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for luck. Stop waiting for someone else to rescue you. Own your decisions, even the tough ones. Responsibility is the foundation of self-leadership. I get it. Hard things have happened to us. Impossible things have happened to us. Stuff we didn't deserve. Stuff that we didn't have any autonomy over. People did things to us. I get it. I really get it. But the more we focus on blaming them, the less we see the impact that their decisions have had on our life. So take responsibility. Not for what they did, for what you do next. Sorry, I get very passionate. I'm aware of it. I'm trying. When I watch myself back and doing the editing on the podcast, I always say, Johnny, you look so bloody angry. It's not anger, I promise. It's passion. Step 2, define your standards. Ask yourself, what do I stand for? What am I no longer willing to tolerate for myself? Because your standards determine the quality of your life. We spend so much of our life tolerating stuff, just like I said at the beginning. We tolerate this, we tolerate that. You see, when people push our boundaries, they don't just push from where they are to where they want to be. They take these ever so small steps. Really, really small ones that you barely notice, ones that the person whose boundaries are being challenged, they can justify it to themselves. Oh, okay, no, that's okay, that's fine on this occasion. But before you know it, you're so far away from what you originally had as a boundary that you don't even know how it happened. Well, it happened step by step. That person pushed, that person pushed, that person pushed. They moved further and further away until one day you went crazy and said, stop. And they didn't go back to where they started. They just stopped where they were. They might take a couple of steps back, perhaps. And they let you simmer down, they apologize, they justify, they get back on your good side, and then they start pushing again. And you keep tolerating it. When people do things to you, yes, they do things to you, but you also allow it. Now, that might hit you in a hard place, and I can understand that. I've felt that, and I may well feel that again. But what if you don't allow it? What if in that moment you tell that person that you will not accept that, you will not tolerate this anymore, and you start to take responsibility? Last step, step 3. Be consistent. Self-leadership isn't one big dramatic decision. It's the small daily choices that add up in self-leadership. It's showing up for yourself, even when it's not glamorous. There's a lot of us not feeling glamorous. There's a lot of us not feeling like we're crushing life. I was talking to someone the other day about high performers, and one of the things I noticed a lot about high performers, real high performers, people that are out there doing stuff, not just taking pictures of it and putting it on the social media, they never feel like a high performer. They very often feel fatigued. They very often feel stretched. They very often feel like they're not winning. And that's because they're performing at a high level. Do you know how much it takes out of you to perform at a high level? It takes a lot. You never feel like you are. You really don't. And all you ever feel like you're doing, and to be honest, all you ever are doing, is trying your best. You're putting the most amount of effort in that you can. You're showing up with the right attitude, and you're aligning with your truth, my EAT philosophy. So just to recap, if you want to start leading yourself today, you can take responsibility, you can define your standards, and you can be consistent. And here's the truth, and this is the hard one. Nobody is coming to lead your life for you. That's your job. And the sooner you step into that role, the sooner everything will change. I promise you, what you focus on grows. So if today's episode resonated with you, then I would be remiss if I didn't tell you about my self-made course. You see, when I talk about my self-made course, the reason I can do it so often and so passionately is because when you go ahead and you join up, I'm not thinking about what I get from you. I'm not trying to make it the best course in the world or for everybody to be talking about it and for it to change my life. No. I wanted to change yours, and I know it can do that because it changed mine. This is what helped me get from that scared little boy that continues to learn all of the time to the person that stands in front of you today. Someone who I'm proud to be, if I'm honest. You see, the self-made course is a self-leadership program. It teaches you how to lead yourself. It doesn't just suggest it. It teaches you how. It shows you how. It puts a magnifying glass on the areas that are important, the ones that you can focus on, and you will learn. It's impossible for you not to learn how to lead yourself by doing this course, because you will look into your morals and you will stop doubting yourself and start making decisions because you know who you are and what you want. You will look into your ambitions and you will become clear about what you want and why you want it, and you will be unapologetic about forging it forward. Your drivers, on the days when you just can't be bothered, you're going to be able to know and tap into your fuel source, your drivers. And then lastly, your environments. Not everybody's going to be happy for you. Not everyone's going to want to encourage you and support you on your journey. And it's important that we recognize those people, places and things in our life that are trying to tear us down instead of build us up. And this course helps you shine a light and focus on all of those things. We're getting great feedback from it. I'm excited about it and I'm proud of it, because when you look into your morals, ambitions, drivers and environments, they are the 4 pillars that put you back in control of your life. And lastly, if you're enjoying these conversations that I'm having, if you're enjoying the podcast, I have a very, very shameless plea. Please take just a moment just to follow the podcast if you're not following the podcast, to just leave a 5-star review. I'd love you to write a big review if you want to, but if you could just do this thing of hitting the 5-star button, because what this does is it tells all the podcast platforms that this is something that's worth listening to, and it helps me help more people, helps more people get this information. And here's the thing, it can be for selfish reasons, right? Because you're going to go out there and develop yourself based off of, you are developing yourself based off of all the things perhaps that you're hearing on this podcast, books you've read, other podcasts you're listening to. But that still means you've got to deal with all the other people, right? Who aren't developing themselves. So if we can get her to listen to this podcast and other podcasts and read other books and stuff like that I'm going to be recommending over time, then we won't have to deal with them anymore because they'll be developed too. How about that? There's the deal. So go ahead and leave a review. It really does help me out. If you're grateful for the information that I've sent, and I get a lot of messages on social media saying that that's the case. If you really want to say thank you, then just leave a review and help this podcast hit the charts. That's a real goal of mine, a real personal goal. The day that this podcast gets into the charts, I'll be really happy. That will make me happy, make me proud of myself, I suppose. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I hope it's been helpful. Share it on social media, all of those different things. And I will see you next week for another episode of the Johnny Lawrence Podcast.